Socrates, you are already enough. Stop trying to fix yourself. They say you need to reinvent yourself all the time, that you should fix your flaws, erase your weaknesses, and chase after perfection. But what if this idea is the biggest trap of our time? What if this pursuit only pulls us away from what we already possess that's most valuable? The whole and sufficient soul that resides within us. Socrates would say, "Know thyself." Not as an invitation to correct ourselves, but as a call for self-discovery and reflection. True wisdom might not lie in adding layers, but in shedding illusions. The modern world, with its social media and endless comparisons, fuels the anxiety of never being enough. But what if you were already sufficient from the beginning? What you're about to discover could change everything. The illusion of the modern mirror. We live as if in front of a fragmented mirror. Each piece reflects a version of us. The smiling profile on social media, the image of success at work, the pose of someone always busy. But, like in Plato's cave, we only see shadows and believe they represent the truth. Ignorance begins when we confuse reflection with essence. In daily life, how many of us wake up reaching for our phones, seeking likes, validations, and comments? This habit, studied in research on digital dopamine, shows that our minds become addicted to instant rewards. The consequence? Growing anxiety, an inner void, and a feeling that we are never good enough. Socrates would remind us, wisdom begins with the admission of one's own ignorance. The issue isn't social media itself, but the belief that we need to shape our identity based on the approval of others. The philosophical solution isn't to delete profiles or live in isolation, but to cultivate self-awareness, understanding that what we show doesn't define our soul. Virtue arises when we stop competing for appearances and start asking, "Who am I, really?" when no one is watching. This question opens the door to a deeper reflection. If the mirror distorts, what is the true image? Perhaps it's time to exchange the quest for applause for the pursuit of inner truth. And here's a question for you to ponder. Have you ever found yourself believing in the reflection more than in the reality? Share your thoughts in the comments. The invisible weight of comparisons. Imagine carrying an invisible backpack filled with expectations. With every comparison on social media, a new brick is added. The perfect body, the dazzling career, the picture-perfect love life. Without realizing it, we walk hunched under this burden. The ignorance lies in believing that happiness is measured by others' yardsticks. In our daily lives, this shows up when we scroll through our feeds before bed, and in seconds, feel like our lives are lagging behind. Psychological studies have shown how constant social comparison increases levels of depression and personal dissatisfaction. The outcome is clear. The more we compare, the further we drift from inner peace. Aristotle said that virtue lies in moderation, between extremes. And perhaps balance is realizing that we don't have to carry all these expectations. Our souls strengthen not by triumphing over others, but by reconnecting with ourselves. Socrates would challenge us. Do you seek to live as you wish, or merely to appear that way? That's the crux. We keep accumulating borrowed desires until we lose sight of our own. In this case, philosophy acts as a balm that eases the burden because it teaches that each life has its own rightful measure, one that cannot be replicated. Reflecting is key. What, after all, is my genuine desire? And what is merely the echo of someone else's wish? In this fine cut of awareness, freedom is born. And that's where self-knowledge begins to flourish. So I ask you, have you ever felt the invisible weight of comparisons crushing your own truth? Let me know in the comments. The addiction of the endless race. Imagine a marathon that never ends. You run and run, but the finish line keeps moving further away. This is the life of someone who believes they need to fix themselves all the time. Ignorance arises here. The illusion that there will come a day when we finally feel ready, complete, without flaws. In daily life, this reveals itself in the avalanche of courses, self-help books, miraculous therapies, and even productivity apps promising the ultimate formula for happiness. There's nothing wrong with seeking growth, but when the pursuit turns into a never-ending race, the result is burnout. As studies on burnout show, the obsession with constant improvement can lead to more frustration than progress. Seneca warned, "While we postpone life, it passes." And Socrates would emphasize, true wisdom isn't about accumulating achievements, but questioning, why am I running? Am I running for myself or to be seen? The philosophical solution lies in pausing for a moment, breathing, recognizing that the soul doesn't need constant additions to be worthy. The virtue here is learning to inhabit the present, rather than treating life as an endless audition. This pause is not passivity, but an act of courage. The Socratic questioning pushes us to confront modern anxiety. What if I am already enough, even when incomplete? And here's a challenge for you. Have you been living like someone racing without a finish line? Share your thoughts in the comments. The silence that scares and the voice of the soul. Imagine stepping into a completely silent room. No music, no notifications, no external voices, just you and your thoughts. For many, this scenario is unbearable. Ignorance reveals itself in the fear of silence, for in it, there are no distractions to hide our own unrest. We prefer the noise of screens to the company of our own soul. In our daily lives, this shows up when we need to turn on the TV to sleep or check our phones every couple of minutes, even when it's not necessary. Psychological research has proven that excessive digital stimuli diminish our ability to focus and increase anxiety. The consequence is clear. The more we flee from silence, the more we lose the ability to reflect. Plato said that philosophy begins with wonder, and that wonder is only possible when we pause. Socrates would say that the beginning of wisdom is the admission of one's own ignorance. Here, stopping isn't stagnation, but the courage to face the void. Silence acts as a mirror. It shows us what we avoid seeing. The philosophical solution lies in cultivating moments of pause, even if brief. Silence is not an enemy, but a guide. It reveals what truly occupies the soul. When we manage to listen to that inner voice, we uncover truths that no social media feed can offer. Virtue flourishes when we accept that initial discomfort and transform it into self-awareness. But, of course, this requires practice. Like a muscle, reflection needs to be exercised. And here arises the question, how many of us still know how to be with ourselves, without distractions, without masks, without external noise? Perhaps the greatest freedom is learning to endure our own company. It's at this crossroads that we enter the deepest realms of philosophy. For if we cannot hear our soul in silence, how could we know the truth that resides within us? And I ask you, have you ever experienced that transformative silence, or do you still flee from it with every notification? Let me know in the comments. The examined life and the courage to stop. We enter the eye of the storm. The room closes in, the internal lights turn on, and everything you've been avoiding starts to whisper. At the center, Socrates raises a question that cuts like a blade. What is your truth when the applause fades? Philosophy today is a defibrillator for the soul numbed by notifications. Ignorance is the noise that promises meaning while robbing silence. The consequence is wandering through life like a tourist in your own destiny. The philosophical solution is examination, self-knowledge as practice, reflection as breathing. And then, breathe. You are already enough to start the dialogue with what is essential. In daily life, the scene is simple and brutal. You open the app, compare, desire, and feel disheartened. There's robust data on habits showing how intermittent rewards capture attention. But the Socratic question dismantles the spell. Why do I seek what I seek? Wisdom is untying the knot of borrowed desires. Truth is calling each thing by its name, without makeup. Virtue is acting according to what you've discovered, not according to the pressure of the stage. Self-knowledge is a daily practice, not a rare event. The unexamined life is not worth living, Socrates declares, and that phrase shakes the ground. Plato brings the light of the cave closer and asks us to have the courage to face the real forms. Epictetus reminds us, it's not the things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Ignorance is mistaking opinion for fact and appearance for essence. The consequence is digital anxiety masquerading as productivity. The philosophical solution is disciplined questioning, a method. Ask, listen, refine. This method restores governance to the soul and takes the wheel from the hands of impulse. And then comes the repetition that awakens like a steady hammer. What if everything you believe is just an illusion? What if you have never truly known yourself? What if your truth is covered by layers of comparison? What if your wisdom is captive to the fear of displeasing? What if virtue is only possible after the first honest silence? What if you are already enough, even with your scars on display? Ignorance, trying to fix yourself to fit the mold of the moment. Consequence, living exhausted, outsourcing your own measure. Philosophical solution, invert the direction instead of adding, shed illusions. Socratic maiutics is the craft of consciousness, not a cosmetic surgery of identity. Reflection is cleaning the window glass, not changing windows every week. Self-knowledge is accepting that the soul has contours that do not require approval. Truth is walking lightly because there's no role to play. From here, we move toward integration, being whole in the world without yielding to theater. Plato's cave remains relevant, feeds our shadows with better filters. Our exit is ethical, not aesthetic, coherence as a compass. Wisdom is not shine, it's direction. Virtue is not a pose, it's practice. Philosophy is not escape, it's presence. And presence is the first act of self-love that the soul recognizes. Engagement question. At this point on your journey, which Socratic question challenges you the most right now? Share in the comments. You already are, and you can still become. Imagine a river flowing without needing to prove it's a river. It flows, encounters stones, narrows, widens, but never loses its identity. So is the soul when it ceases the war of fixing and chooses coherence. Ignorance is thinking that value only appears after the trophy. Consequence is living asking for validation receipts. Philosophical solution. Act from who you are, not from who others expect you to be. Truth is recognizing the sufficiency of being before performance. In daily life, integration is simple and radical, saying no to what disrupts your center. Exchanging a mindless scroll for 10 minutes of reflection changes the mood of the day. Studies on gratitude show consistent gains in well-being and resilience. But gratitude here isn't a trend, it's a practice of perception. Wisdom is noticing what is already present before seeking what is missing. Virtue is maintaining that focus when the world distracts. Self-knowledge is honestly recording. What nourishes me? What drains me? Aristotle would remind us of the mean balance between effort and self-compassion. Ignorance is rigidity that calls cruelty discipline. Consequence is perfectionism that tears the soul. Philosophical solution: just measure. Enough as a criterion for peace. Philosophy doesn't tell us to stop growing. It tells us to grow rooted. Reflection is intelligent pruning, not deforestation of self. Truth flourishes when the rhythm is human and breathable. Seneca whispers, "While we postpone life, it passes." So bring life to the here and now, where presence is virtue in action. Question: what am I really seeking when I seek more? Wisdom is knowing when enough is enough. Self-knowledge is recognizing one's own boundaries without shame. The soul doesn't need spotlights to be whole. Philosophy? It's just the ancient name for this reunion with what has always been yours. Engagement question: what small practice today has already changed your sense of sufficiency? Let me know in the comments. You don't need to fix yourself to deserve your own life. You need to examine it to inhabit it fully. Wisdom is rhythm. Virtue is coherence. Truth is an intimate light that doesn't seek applause. If there's honest questioning, there's self-knowledge. If there's self-knowledge, the soul finds peace. The path doesn't promise an absence of pain, but a presence of meaning. And that's enough to carry on. Share in the comments the Socratic question you'll take into tomorrow. Subscribe and share with those who are always trying to fix themselves. Maybe it's the hope they've been missing. I close with an invitation. Stay in the examination. Walk lightly. Choose what's essential. The next step may reveal something even deeper.